Welcome to People Love Process. This movie was requested by a People Love Process viewer who asked if I'd show how I go about creating a grunge texture. So even though I name this creating a grunge texture, I don't really think of any textures as grunge. I mean, textures are timeless. So the grunge movement was a brief period of music kind of history, but I want to show you how I approach creating textures. But more importantly, I want to encourage you to go texture exploring for yourself and realize that textures are everywhere. And I'm going to demonstrate that by showing you some examples. As you'll soon see, it's not complicated. In the process, because it's a texture, is very forgiving, so you don't have to be a master of Photoshop. Now, I do a lot of things in Photoshop for like packaging design projects where I need to have some photographs worked into an overall layout. I can do that, but my favorite type of work is design and illustration, so I really don't do tutorials on that kind of content because there's people who do a much better job, such as my friend Jesus. He does incredible Photoshop work, and you can see his site linked on the page for my channel on YouTube, and you can watch his videos on Photoshop. I think you'll learn a lot, and he has a huge following, so make sure to check those out. So we're going to dive into the world of textures, and I want to show you how to create them first. Then we'll move to Illustrator, which is a different environment. You could do all your texturing on an illustration or a design within the context of Photoshop if you wanted to save it out as like a PSD file and place it in a InDesign file or an Illustrator file. We're really not doing that. I'm just going to demonstrate how you can put them to use in Illustrator just using the texture resources we're going to create. Now, before we jump into it, I just have to apologize for my voice because I'm still getting over a cold, and that's why I sound a little differently. I can do really cool deep voices though when I have a cold like this, but I figured I'm doing a texture one, so this is, I just put this together yesterday actually, and because I didn't want to, I was intending to do my second episode of Brand Salvage, but that's so long, and I'm afraid like halfway through I'll either cough or whatever, and I'm not sure I'd last that long. So I apologize for that. Hopefully you can still understand me well enough. And so we're going to get started. We're going to get started in Photoshop first because I want to show you the process. It's super easy. It's not hard. One of the places I love to go texture exploring, and I go with my friend John. He's one of my buddies that goes all the way back to art school, and we're still friends today and hang out together. And every year, for the most part, we go to Rat Rod together. And this is what a rat rod is. It's like an old hot rod, but they don't make it perfect mint condition. It has textures all over it, and this is just beautiful. You can see this little bus in the background. I did a whole texture set on that bus. It was called the Texture Bus Set, and that's available through Retro Supply if you want to check that out. But this is one of the textures we're going to work with, and this is one of the panels from that car that I'm going to create a texture out of this, and I'm going to show you a bunch. I'm only going to create like 4 textures, but you can see I have more open in the tabs up here. So where do I start? Well, usually if I'm creating a texture, I try to save a final image in whatever format I want, but the build file, I always want to have that to go back to. So ultimately, I'll save this as a PSD file. So it'd start with just having this, and I just duplicate it to put the texture on its own layer. Not that you have to work this way. This is just the way I like to set up a file. So I have the background like this. I usually name this source photo. This was actually a photo taken with my iPhone, I believe. For years, I did it with my SLR, but then the iPhone got to be higher resolution than SLR, so I started using that instead. Plus, again, textures are forgiving. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, we're just going to duplicate that. So I like keeping a source file in here. And on this one, we'll go ahead and I'll just put adjust. And we're going to, and you can use adjustment layers. I've done this so much, I don't always bother to do that because it's not that big a deal. So I'm not going to use adjustment layers. You can if you want to, it doesn't matter. It's just really not necessary. Well, let's go ahead. We'll do the first one this way, I guess. And we'll go down here, and I want to go to the right. I'm going to cough. I apologize. So, yeah, I'm still... I love teaching. Every summer, I go back to the East Coast, and I teach in a Master of Fine Arts program for Hartford University for their art department. And flying back home, of course, whenever I fly, that's where I risk getting a cold, and I got one. Okay, so we're going to just do an adjustment layer. We'll go levels. It'll bring it up, and I just want to blow this out to get more contrast before I convert it to grayscale, because I like to convert it to grayscale. It makes it a little easier, unless I want to do a full color texture. There's a lot of things you can do with textures like this. So I'm going to just improve the contrast. You know, there's a lot of fading on that color for the red especially. I don't want to blow it out too much because I like the difference with the subtle grays in there. And you see all the layers of paint. That's what makes this such a cool texture. And I won't adjust that. So once I've adjusted it like this, I'll go in and I'm going to go to mode and I'm going to change it to grayscale. And it says, do you want to flatten it? And I say, you know what? Let's go ahead and flatten it. No, don't flatten. Now we've changed the entire file to grayscale. So if I was creating a PSD file, I'm kind of going off the top of my head here. I should have thought about this, but yes, I would use layer effects if I was creating a black and white like this. Then what actually... I'm sorry, I'm being kind of scatterbrained right now. I'm not 100% okay, feeling that great. So what I do first is I go here, and because this is RGB, you can go black and white. And so it just turns that image below it to black and white. Then you can turn on your levels. So we go down here, we turn on our levels. Essentially, you could get a black and white by doing that. So it would retain the full color if you wanted to, but I think you're going to get a better image overall if it's flattened. So all I'm going to do is once I get it to this, we'll just go ahead and flatten image here like that. Then I'll go to mode and I'll go to grayscale. Now it's in a grayscale. Now I'll just go to levels. I don't care about using layer effects to do this. I've done this so many times. I don't even really look at levels. I'm just looking at the texturing. I don't want to blow out the gray so much. Like I wouldn't want to... Actually, that looks pretty good too. There's a lot of variations, so you could do variations of a texture with this, because that's just as cool. But I think I want to leave a little more of that gray. like that in it. Something right around there. Maybe pull this black over a bit. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to zoom out just a bit because what I want to do next is I want to make this more idealistic for using it in, let's say it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this because it needs to be duplicated. It can't be on the background. And we'll just fill the background with white like that. But on this layer here, I'm going to go, and this is where Photoshop comes into play because we want to go to transform. And I want to go distort. And I just want to pull this over. I'm really sorry. I keep coughing, so that's why I'm pausing. I have to keep space so I can edit it out. And, you know, I could, if I wanted the edge to be here, I could pull this up like that and do that. But in this case, I kind of like that large kind of cut through gap being in there. So I'm going to leave it. And I think I'll pull this one down just a bit like that. And I think that's going to work better than, you know, maybe I do just show some of that. I'm kind of changing my mind as I'm going on here. Something like there. Something like that. And if you thought it looked better having this like that, then it just comes down to your prerogative. I don't think it matters much, but I do distort like this just to get something more idealistically what I think will work best as a texture. So right now, this is grayscale. And so what I would do is I would just save this out as a grayscale TIFF. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to flatten this. So we'll flatten image. And then this is where coming up with a clever name, I like doing that. So I came up with a high octane since it's rat rods it was derived from. And we'll just go save as. I'll pick the desktop here. And we'll go high octane. And I always put what format of file it is because I will make a bitmap. You'll see that next. So with this, we're going to save it on desktop and just call it, but I don't want a JPEG. We want this to be a TIFF image. TIFF is the best format, in my opinion, for textures because you can do bitmap TIFFs as well. And whatever's white pixelized is transparent. So it works awesome. So with that said, make sure it's on desktop. We'll save it. If you're on PC, you probably pick that. I'm on Mac, and I'm going to select none and click OK. Now, to create the bitmap equivalent, if I just go to bitmap under mode, like this is the resolution we have this at, and we'd use 50%. There's other settings here, which you can continue to explore with this texture. You could do a diffusion dither. That works pretty good, but 400 would be too fine. We're just going to do 50% threshold. So this finds the threshold between the black and the white pixels, and it goes to 50%. And you're going to lose some of that finer detail. I think this might work. Let's just try it. We can undo if it isn't. You can see we lose a lot of that gray because it's only showing you black pixels and white pixels. And where there's that element of gray, it's going to lose everything up to the 50% threshold. Now, I think this looks great for a bitmap TIFF. And if I zoom in on this, you can see we're at pretty zoomed in, and this is just, man, this is such a cool texture. So I think this is going to work great. So I'm going to go and save this one. We're going to go save as, select the desktop, and select TIFF image. And on this one, we're going to name it, we named grayscale on this one, so this one would be bitmap. So now, for this one texture, we have a bitmap version and we have a grayscale version. And we'll save it. Macintosh, none. If you're on a PC, you'd obviously do that differently. So that's how I would take a source photograph texture derived from Rat Rod Show and create a really cool texture like this. Now, textures are timeless. You can use them for a lifetime of creativity. So it's not like in 5 years, man, that texture is outdated. This texture would work great in a lot of different contexts. So we'll go ahead and close our Rat Rod photo, and we'll close this one. We're done with that. I'm not going to save this because I already have it saved in the set. So don't save. And let's go to this one, because when I was at Hartford Art School on Friday night, the night before I flew back, we got access to their Lino Cut studio. And I was able to, roll out. This is a rollout I did on the glass with the ink. And then I went ahead and just put paper down and just transferred what was on the glass to the paper to create these textures. So these aren't really found textures. Most of my textures are from exploring, like whether I'm in an abandoned warehouse or whatever, and I'll see a cool texture on a wall or a floor. Those are the ones that I explore and discover and photograph. This one I didn't photograph. This one I created by hand with a roller, but it looks awesome. And I scanned it in. And so I just want to walk you through how I take an image like this and turn it into a texture as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bleed the left side off here. So let's go ahead and go. Actually, let's duplicate this. And again, we'll fill this with white for the background. We'll take this layer and transform, we'll scale it. And because it's a texture, it's okay if we're stretching it. I just want it to bleed off that side. It's already kind of bleeding off the bottom and the top and the right, but there's one area I want to improve upon. So I'll go to distort again, and I'll just pull this one down so it bleeds all the way off there. So those are little tweaks I'll do. Once I get it to this point, then I'll just work on levels. Right now, it's too gray. So you can see black is all the way to the left. So I'm going to bring this over just to establish a nice black. Blow it out a little bit. You don't want to do it too much, see, this is a case where you can make multiple textures. Like this is good as is. So I might create one like this, but in this case, I want to keep some of that artifacting in there, so I won't blow out the white too far. And usually where it dips like this, I've found if you stop there, you retain a lot of that. And then the midtones, this is where you need to adjust it. Maybe you want to pull it back so it's a little darker. And this is where it's your prerogative what you want to do. So I think something right about there is pretty good. And I'll click OK. And this would make a great texture. So again, I would save this out as a grayscale image, and I did. It's part of the set, and we're going to go through that. And I'd also save it out as a bitmap. So once again, not a found texture. This one was created through the Lino Cut process of inking on glass and pressing a nice textured paper to it. It wasn't anything special paper-wise, though. It was just thicker bond paper that you'd run through a copy machine. So, man, we were one of the former students was hanging out with us, and me and Dylan, we were Lisa, my friend, she's an incredible illustrator, does a lot of fine art type stuff too, but she was doing a print for some art she's creating back in her studio where she lives. And we were creating textures, just geeking out on doing the textures. Is fun. So once again, most of mine come from found textures. And the next one I want to show you is this found texture. And I found this. It's called Rockwell's Desk because this is in at Rockwell Museum that I visited a handful of times when I go over there and teach. They usually take the students. We didn't go there this year. They ended up going to New York, and I had to get back to work on stuff. And I'm kind of glad I did because I would have been sick in New York, I think, and that's no fun. So this was in the little studio they have set up of what his studio actually was, the actual building. And so, I mean, who wouldn't want to take a picture of a famous illustrator's, desk? I mean, it just has so much character. And I saw this and I'm like, oh man, that's going to make an awesome texture. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to just duplicate it like this. And again, I'll just fill the background with white. On this one, I want to improve the contrast. And then ultimately, once again, let's say you wanted a full color texture. Well, you could do it the way I'm doing it here. So I don't want to pull that over too far. Bring in some darker elements. Ooh, the contrast is already looking good. Something like that. Like, you could use this as is for a texture now if you save this out as a colored TIFF image, or even a colored JPEG would work if it's full color. Place it into Illustrator, and you could use a blend mode on top of stuff, and it'll give a really cool mottled look. That I've done before because it's so easy and it looks like you've spent a lot of time on it. But in this case, I'm just going to click OK, and we'll go to grayscale, and I'll go ahead and flatten it. Even in grayscale, this looks awesome, but I think I'm going to adjust it a little more. Adjust the black. Maybe I pull the black in a bit and kind of blow out some of the gray. We have a lot of gray in this. Oh yeah, something like that. There you go. Now I don't want to bring white too far because that kind of destroys a lot of that nice subtle artifacting. So something like that, I think, just looks awesome. And we'll click OK, and I definitely save this. So actually, this looks a little different the first time I did it. So that's another thing. It's amazing how many different resources you can get out of one image. And so just because I like collecting textures, I'm going to label this. I want to save it in a TIFF format. And I will go grayscale. We'll save it to the desktop. Same settings. Okay. Okay, the next one I want to show you is one that I discovered years ago. I was looking at some public domain images, and I found this old document, and I just thought, wow, that's kind of cool. I like the torn edges, how you can see some of the writing on the opposing side, and just the style. And if you look really closely, if you zoom in on this, 1814. I like how they did fours. It almost looks like a lowercase h of sorts, but 1814, January 2nd. So kind of cursive. A lot of younger designers don't even know what cursive is anymore. But I thought this would make a really cool texture. So this is a good example of taking something that's historical. It's a found image, but it's going to make a great texture. So I will go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll just fill the background again. And This one's not going to take a whole lot of work. I just want to get this to a solid, but it looks even better when you darken that like that. And I don't want to blow it out because this is kind of boring, but you want all that subtle artifacting like this. And I think this is the case where you do want to use a grayscale. You want to retain those gray pixels like this. So I would save this out now as a grayscale TIFF image. Now, if I was more concerned about, like, I want this edge of the document here to reflect in the image, to reflect the edge of how I'm going to use it, then I might rotate this and stuff, but I'm not going to bother with that. I think this looks great, so I just save this out as a grayscale TIFF image, and it's going to work great. And we can colorize it. We can apply a blend mode to it if it's on a dark or colored background. And I'm going to show you all that coming up. Here's another one that's just a photograph of a kind of a plastered wall. I thought this was cool, so this would make a great texture again. And I just blew out the color. It wasn't quite this bright. But I think this looks cool. It has a lot of subtle textures in it, so I'll be showing you how we could use that. Here's another one from the lino cut phase where this, I had put one of my prints that I did on top of another print by accident, and I'm like, oops, and because you're supposed to put slip sheets in them, and I forgot to. And I picked that paper up, and this was on the back of it. And I go, that's a cool texture too. So I did that. Textures can come from anywhere. The other day, I noticed there was a video playing. It had a part where it had all the static and little lines running. And I go, that's a cool texture. So I just shot it like this. And so it could be something this simple that you kind of run into, and for no other reason, we can go ahead and isolate this like this, crop out all the stuff you don't want, you know, and look how cool that texture looks. You could do other things on this. Maybe you go into filter, you go to sharpen, and you could go, so you sharpen things a bit. You can go in here, go in levels. We can blow out the black so it isolates the speckles more, kind of like that. Maybe get the contrast a little better, like that, and boom. And let's say you're going, well, I don't want all the black to be what the color would apply to. Well, in this case, you would just go, and we go to adjust, and we go invert. Look how cool that looks. We might go back into levels, and I might blow these out like that. And then I think this is good as is. So what I'm going to do is, just because I think this looks good, I'm going to save it again to the desktop. I give it clever names like screen garbage, and it can't be a ping. Save out. We'll go to TIFF like that, and boom. Now we have another texture, and this one was based out of all things, a screen capture from my phone watching a video on Instagram. So textures can be anywhere. So I just wanted to walk you through that, just show you it's not hard to do. Anybody can do this. But now let's move to Illustrator, and I'll show you how to put textures to use within the context of Illustrator. So we're in Illustrator now. I actually had to stop recording because I got into a coughing fit. So now you know. We're going to, I want to demonstrate. Some of you might be thinking, and I know other people have commented on stuff like this when I've done textures, well, why don't you just do all your texturing in Photoshop? Well, I have at times for various projects because it's easier. But that said, I like using bitmap textures a lot, and in context of Illustrator, it works awesome. You can get some really good looks. So I just thought it was different. If you prefer doing it in Photoshop, that's fine. I'm just showing how to do it in Illustrator. So we're going to start with the same size as the document here. We're going to color this blue. I'll just go ahead and lock that. And we're going to take this type and we're going to use one of our textures. It was the blue one with the textured modeling on the wall. But I want to kind of lean into the textures, meaning kind of make my vector art more in line with organic feel. And this type is way too straight, way too perfect. And so we're going to kind of give it a characteristic by going to Appearance, going to Effects, going to Distort and Transform. We're going to use Roughen, and it's going to default to something kind of like this. And you want to click Smooth and Absolute, and you can see it's starting to move towards what we want it to be. And we'll go to 3 here, and I think something around 6 would look good. And it will apply this algorithm to the edge of these vector objects. Now, this is an effect. If you go into Keyline View, which is Command Y, you can see it's just still the regular type. So you have to expand it. And we're going to go Expand Appearance, and you can see it adds additional anchor points, but I think this is okay because ultimately it's going to improve the aesthetic. So if we click on this, you can see we have a grayscale TIFF version of this Blew Me Away. I like puns. So we're going to use this. I'm going to align it so it's directly on top. But because it's a grayscale, the white pixels aren't transparent, unlike a bitmap TIFF. But in this case, we're going to color it this dark blue. And then we're going to go to the blend mode from the transparency palette and set to multiply. And look how nice that looks. Now, we took that grayscale that we colored blue in Illustrator, applied the blend mode to it, and in Photoshop, we inverted it. And we inverted it because we wanted to take that highlight, and I'm going to turn this on, and it's right on top. And this doesn't look good, but we're going to select this. And we're going to go ahead and go to the transparency palette and just knock the opacity down to whatever you think looks good. This is 30%. Maybe you wanted it even fainter. You could go 20%, something like that. And this is going over everything. Now, what you could do is you could leave it like this, and it's affecting some of the areas outside of the type. So if I turn this off, you can see those areas, you're getting some lighting up into these parts of the highlight and down below. And I think this looks good, but if you wanted to isolate it, you could also use a mask like this, and you'd select that, select the image that's inverted, and you could mask it into the shape. This is always going to happen. This is so annoying that it does this. Yes, it's a complex mask, but, you know, come on, do it. And click yes. And you can isolate it. Now, I don't prefer this because I thought the way it was previously looks better, but you could do it this way. And if we move this, you can see how it's moving that masked item. But I'm going to cut it out of that because I think this looks better done like this. So that's one way you can combine the same texture and just use multiple versions of it to achieve something like this in Adobe Illustrator. Let's jump to something else. This is another rat rod photo I took. I believe this was an old taxi, and it said something about taxi on it at one point. Because I was curious what the shield was for, and I asked the guy who owns the car, and I think that's what he told me. So we're going to take this and add some typography to it, and I derived this color from just sampling the art down here in the rusted area or the painting underneath. Sorry for the pause. I just coughed. I had to edit that out so you guys don't have to hear it. I'm kind of going as fast as I can because I'm struggling trying to stop myself from coughing. It's kind of hard. So here's the flesh rune. This one was created from the Lino Cut prints I was doing. And so this is the bitmap TIFF, and this is a good example. If I go here and select this, you can see it's colored magenta. That's just so you can see it show up on screen. But if I go fill with none, this is what it is. It's just the default black pixels show up, and those can be colored like I colored it magenta, but the white is transparent. And this is great for doing things like t-shirts, that kind of stuff to distress something. Let's go ahead and color this. And if you want to reposition it, maybe we move it down a little bit, something like that. That's fine. But one thing I want to show you is a lot of people forget you can do this. I know I don't think about it a lot, but you can crop images in Adobe Illustrator. So as long as under Window you have your control panel set up, that's this control bar at the top. If you select your image, you'll see crop image. If I click this, it'll go into the cropping mode. It'll default to whatever you did last time. And on this, I'm just going to crop it so it's just barely larger than my type. Like this. And then we'll crop the bottom. I'll bring it up like this. And we'll do that. And if that looks the way you want, then just go apply. And it's crop the image. Now, you might wonder, well, what does it do here? Well, it basically embeds it now into Illustrator. It's no longer a linked image to a file outside of Illustrator. It doesn't destroy the file outside of Illustrator, by the way. That still exists the way it was. But this still allows you to colorize it. So if I go back and uncolor it again, it'll do that, because it's still a bitmap TIFF. It's kind of cool. And in this case, I would use the eyedropper tool, sample part of the background color and apply to it, figure out what color would look best. I think that one looks pretty good. And that's how I'd add some kind of texturing derived from the photo and model it in terms of the coloring with the background. Now, you might want to add some other elements to it. Maybe it's some surface speckles. So you could take this instead of being white. I don't think we really need white, but maybe we go in here and we add some of those darker speckles like that. Or we could even go over here and sample some of this rust color, bring some brown into it. Something like, ooh, that looks good. I like that. So a lot of things you can do to combine different kind of textures on an image to get something unique and looking pretty cool. Let's jump to this. So this is just this isn't a texture I created for this movie. This is derived from some texture brushes I created a long time ago. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the long gone document that I worked on in Photoshop. And on this one, if I select it and go to links here, you can see it's a bitmap TIFF. So this is how you can easily remember and double check. Some of these are grayscale, like the Blew Me Away one, and the inverted version of the grayscale. Some are just the raw photo, like the shield. This one's going to be a bitmap. So this is the one I want to focus on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale this up quite a bit. And then all I'm going to do is I want to rotate this to be at the angle kind of what we have there. Maybe a little back. Something like that, I think looks good. I'm going to color it a muted value. And then I'm going to go to transparency and go to multiply. I think that looks pretty good. But I think we need to knock the value down. It's at 100%. I have the value knocked down. I have a mask of this kind of brush work I did. So we'll select these two. It'll say it's a complex one. Yes, it is. Just do it. like that. And boom, we have a really cool kind of texture over our color here. And this is what would work good for, in this context, if I went ahead, we'll lock those. I have, you could take that same texture and utilize it again just to get some ghosted images. I'm calling it ghost writing, and maybe you lock it up with some continuous line illustration. And it'd be a great way to use a texture like this in the context of a historical type of theme graphic. So the last one I want to show you, or the last two that is, we're going to focus on some more vector art here. And this is a design I did many, many, many moons ago. We're going to take one of the line of cut textures, this one, and this is a bitmap, so it's just black. White is transparent, so it's showing through. So all we're going to do is we're going to color this one, this crazy gold texture, and then all we're going to do is the overlay, which will be a blend mode, is going to be what creates the magic here. So I'll just go ahead and click that, and you get this awesome looking texture. So where it overlaps the bird, two-headed bird thing, you get some interaction with those colors. Interactions with the background looks pretty cool. And then I take that same texture, I just rotated it to a different angle. And then on this one, I'm just going to select it. We're going to color it the gray that's in the bird, actually. And then we'll go ahead and use another blend mode. I'll go down here. I'll go to color burn. And then if you want to, you can adjust the value. I think the value here needs to be knocked down. It's looking a little too black. I don't want it black. I want it kind of diminished, almost like a dark, dark red. And I think that looks a lot better like that. And then we have another texture. This texture wasn't even part of the images I showed you. I kind of cheated and took a texture I like. And we'll go ahead and just color this, and so you can see what it is. But I'm not going to leave it this color. I just wanted to show you. We're going to color this white, actually. And this was derived from a scuff surface. And then I inverted the pigment that was knocked off the surface and then turned it into this texture. And we're going to knock this down to only 45%. So it almost looks like it's scraping off pigment on the surface is what we're going for. And then, of course, this last texture, we don't want it to look like the bird has dandruff. We just want to reinforce the original base color, which was red, and bring some of that into the top surface through some speckling. And this is how you could layer all these different textures over simple vector art and get this kind of look. So it's kind of fun. Let's jump into one last one here. And this is the base color here. And this is the rat rod texture that we derived from the image I showed you. So I'll select this. We'll go ahead and align it like here. And this one, we're going to color, this one's the high octane texture. And so I want to color this one a darker color. So let's color it this. And we can go down here and go to multiply and knock the value down. Value is what you can use to control the intensity of the texturing you're using. So I think on this one, 55 is going to look good. And then we have our design that we're going to be utilizing on top of this. And this is just all vector art. But I want to create an element that is kind of engaging with the background. So I have a copy of the exact same texture here, but on this one, I want to color this kind of a grayish, a warm gray, if you will. So this is the warm gray. It matches what's in the background, but I don't want it to look like this. I just wanted it to be a warm kind of gray, not a cool gray. And on this one, we can go over here and go 65%, something like that. And then I'm going to go to the mask on top, which is a copy of our vector art. Again, it's going to give you that annoying asking question. And this way, it looks like it's engaging with the background. Now, there's still a few more things we're going to do. And you might be wondering when Rockwell's texture is coming into play. Well, here's Rockwell's texture. And I'm going to color it kind of this brownish, warm type of color, which you might think, well, that looks kind of crazy. But I think it's going to work really good because we can go down and we can go to multiply it. Then we can adjust the value. I want it darker as it overlaps the dark areas. But then as it gets towards the center, I want some transparency. So we'll change it to 70. Look how cool that looks, though. That's just fun. And then we can do a couple other things by putting some surface splatters on there. Again, I wouldn't want them to be white. In this case, I think we want them to be red, something like that. Or maybe even we'll try something crazy. Ooh, I kind of like that. Even though there's no other color like that, the gold, I think that looks pretty good. And then maybe some surface scarring. So this comes from another set I did at one time, and it looks like it just kind of scrapes over the top of the surface. So that's how you can create create textures. A lot of people kind of confuse terminology. They'll say patterns when they mean textures and textures when they mean patterns. I understand why that is, but they're two different things. So these are textures. I hope you enjoyed watching this, learning how to create your own textures. And I always encourage you to do this. I've been doing this since art school. We didn't have digital cameras back then. We'd have to take a roll of film and hopefully we got a picture that we liked and we could use at some point. And then when scanners came on the scene, that was the easiest way to get them into the computer. And then digital cameras came on the scene. I kind of waited until the pixel quality got to the point where it was better than film. And thankfully, that didn't take too long. And I encourage you to go texture exploring. Wherever you are, always be aware of what's around you because that can make great textures and you can capitalize on it and use it for the rest of your life within your creative projects. So hopefully this helps you. And more importantly, I encourage you again to go texture exploring. It's fun, but you know, you have to be careful too because exploring abandoned buildings and such isn't always a non-risk situation. Let's put it that way. Your support by purchasing the exercise files, like the one for this week, will get you a complete set of textures and all the other textures I show in this movie. And you can use those to begin your own resources of texture in your own creative archive. So until next time, thank you for watching People Love Process. And thank you for putting up with this one because this was a struggle recording it. I had to edit this a lot to edit out times where I was coughing and stuff. So hopefully I'm back up to speed next week and I'll do a non-coughing and I'll sound a little more like myself because my voice is still out of whack. So as always, I hope this content helps you to improve your own creative process. And never stop talking.